I love making swirl breads. Not only are they visually really appealing and everybody is wowed by them, but also having those ingredients swirled through them makes them the perfect bread. Now this herbed garlic and Parmesan swirled bread is perfect for any Italian meal that you're doing. It also goes great with a wide variety of salads. Again, it's very beautiful, and of course it tastes amazing. Now I am Amy from A Red Spatula, and of course you know I love all things whole wheat. So this is a bread that's made with whole wheat flour, but it is still light, fluffy, and perfect to serve with any meal. So of course, as always, don't forget to subscribe. You don't want to miss any of the new videos that are coming out. Okay, so you start this bread dough by activating your yeast. In case you're not familiar with what this means, you add your liquid, which in this case is milk, a little bit of sweetener, and then your active dry yeast to the bowl. Let this sit for just a few minutes. And then you're just going to add in the rest of your ingredients. This is a straight dough method, which means you just add everything to the bowl and start mixing. Now I used a blend of all-purpose flour and white wheat for this one. You could also use spelt if you prefer. And then you start mixing it. I like to let it mix for about a minute, and then you can test for hydration. Now you can see that the dough did not really pull away from the edges of the bowl after a minute, so I added in just a little bit less than 1/3 of a cup of flour. Continue to let this mix for 7 to 8 minutes, and then you're going to cover it and let it rise in a warm place until it has doubled. While your dough is rising, what we're going to do now is we're going to make the herbed filling. You can do this in a food processor, you can do it in a blender, you just add everything in, and then you're going to pulse it until it's really smooth and the herbs are all chopped up. Very simple to do. And I used a blend of basil, thyme, oregano in mine, but of course you can use a lot of different herbs. This is what it looks like when it's done. It was a softened butter. And then once your dough is risen, we're going to start rolling this out. Put it out onto a lightly floured surface, not too much flour because you don't want it to be too dry. Roll it out into it's probably about an 18 by 24 inch rectangle. And then you're going to take that herb butter that you made earlier and you're going to spread this across the whole thing. But when you do this, you want to leave about 1/2 inch to 1 inch at the bottom where you're going to pinch this closed. Now you're going to roll this up. Once it's spread, you're going to roll this up just like you would a cinnamon roll. You start at the top and you roll down. Just make sure it's fairly tight. It doesn't have to be too tight, but fairly tight. That's how you're going to get really nice swirls in your bread. Now once you get to the bottom, you're going to pinch this closed just to ensure that it stays together. And then roll it back over to where the pinched end is face down. And then I like to clean up the ends, so I cut off a few inches just because you don't always have a lot of filling in those ends. And then you're going to take a really sharp knife and you're going to cut right down the middle of this roll, just as I'm doing here. And then once you've cut all the way through it, you're going to face these cut ends up, and then you're going to start twisting them over each other side by side. You do the same process with any twisted bread or swirled bread. And then I like to turn it just a little bit to twist it even tighter, and then put it into a bread pan that you have already either brushed with butter or sprayed with pan release. Cover it with saran wrap and let it double again. This is what it looks like when it's ready. And then you're going to want to brush the top with an egg wash, or you could even use heavy cream, but I think egg wash provides such a pretty little sheen once it's done baking. Once you brush this all the way, and it takes just a little while, you're going to move it right to your oven. Now on swirled breads like this, I don't go by color, I always go by temperature, and you're going to want to bake this until it's about 190 degrees. Let it cool thoroughly before you cut into it, and you can see how nice and tender this is. You can see those beautiful swirls, and even though it already has butter in it, I really like to add extra butter. That's it. It's a lot easier than what you think it's going to be.